In this video, the B20 VTEC build continues with pistons and rods. Now that's going to include fitting the rod into the piston, which is no easy task, we'll get to that. We will be gapping the rings and then we'll be fitting the rings onto the piston. Now, if you're new here and you don't know what's going on, this is my 1991 Honda Civic EF, currently got a D14 engine in it, and we're building a B20 VTEC. I got a B20Z1 block with a B16A1 head. The block has been ported out to 84.5mm and is all freshly milled and honed and ready, and we've already got the crankshaft in there. So if you're not sure how to clearance bearings or how to get your crankshaft into the block, there's another video for that. Please go and watch that video. We've also had all of the rotating assembly balanced, and there's another video where I polished the crankshaft as well. So if you want to know how to polish your crankshaft, there's also a video for that. Now, getting the Gudgeon pin into those pistons is not an easy task. You get one attempt at that, and hopefully in this video we're going to show you how to do it right first time. Really, because I can't afford another set of pistons. If you do get it wrong, then you have to press out the Gudgeon pin, and that will likely ruin the piston. So I don't want that to happen. If you go back and watch my other video, how to make a 250 horsepower B20 VTEC with this simple list, it's called something like that. That lists everything that I have here to make this car, make this engine, which is hopefully going to be around 250 horsepower at the wheels, or maybe more if this goes really, really well. First thing I'm going to do to get these pistons onto these rods is we've got to heat up the small end of the rod so that expands, and then we will put these pins, these Gudgeon pins, in the freezer. And then what we'll do is we'll put in our C-clip into the one side of the piston. We will heat this up, set this up, and I shall set up a small jig or something just to hold them all in position. And then hopefully this will just drop straight in through the expanded piston small end, and we will be good to go. Right, now, a bit tricky, because if the small end actually cools down before you can drop the Gudgeon pin in, then it might stick before it reaches the full halfway through. But we will, I'll set up this jig, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fine. Right, so I'm going to put all of these Gudgeon pins in the freezer now. Pins into the freezer. Let's put them on some chips there. I'm happiest with chips, so maybe the Gudgeon pins will be happiest with chips.
I think I watched a documentary recently, and I'm pretty sure this is how NASA like calibrates their engines. You could actually just like swap this image into that documentary, and it would be.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't be able to tell.
It's all right. It's not like you're building an engine or anything.
After messing around for a while with these scraps of wood and metal, it quickly became apparent that this was not going to work. I needed a jig that was going to hold these really stable. I needed a much more robust solution. Alessandro and I came up with the idea of designing and 3D printing a jig. So I got to work on this 3D design, and thankfully Alessandro's got a 3D printer and he was happy to print that out. So we came up with this. So here it is. There's a little close-up for you. It's a very simple design, right? So it holds the rod like that, and the piston sits in there, you can see that that is going to hold it right in the middle. Now I just need to make some fine adjustments to this. I just need to file down this bed, just maybe 1/2 mil, something like that. And then we need to put some metal underneath it, because that's going to be very hot and it'll actually melt the jig. So once we've got it set at the right height, I should be placing some metal under that, so it stays in tolerance when it's very, very hot. So I got to work cutting and filing, and after what felt like an absolute eternity, I got the rod and the piston to fit perfectly. Okay, now the most important thing we're going to do here, as we make sure we put these in the correct orientation, is to know a couple of things. The recess on the piston matches the size of the valves. So we know that this larger recess on this side of the piston goes against the larger valves on the exhaust side. So we know the piston is orientated like that. So as we flip it, it's going to be in the block like that. And we know that the oil squirter on the rod is to face the inlet manifold. Here's the dipstick on this side of the block. So as we're standing looking at the engine bay, the inlet manifold will be on the rear here. Right, exhaust at the front, inlet at the rear. So we know that the rod has to go in like that, and we know that the piston has to go in like that. Right, so I'm just going to put, we'll just go for a dot on that side and a dot on that side. Right, now we know that those are corresponding. Oh, see, I thought I was going crazy for a moment there, but it turns out the writing is mixed up. On this piston, the writing's over here, and on this piston, the writing is over here. Right, but let's look at a more important detail, like the piston itself and not the number that's stamped onto it. Okay, look here, we have this little ridge that comes up, this little feature on here. And on here, again, here it is. So fancy them putting the writing on different faces just to confuse me. Cheeky. All right, so now we've figured out how to orientate them correctly. I do the same for the other three. Now, before we continue, we need to get our C-clip into the back side of that. Okay, so that's going to go into that inner ridge. Hopefully you can see that there. Yep, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to get the tip of that ridge into there, and then I'm just going to follow it all the way around like that. And then hopefully that's just going to nip into there, just like that. Okay. So now that that is in the back of there, the pin cannot go any further than that C-clip. So as we heat that up, drop that in there, push in the pin all the way, it's just going to go all the way through to that C-clip on the other side, and then it'll cool and we can pop the C-clip in this side. Just wish me a bit of luck here, because I'm a bit nervous about this. I really am worried about just getting this right first time. Whew. God, it's the clearance gaps all over again from the last video, isn't it? I was so nervous about how they were, about them being intolerance. Obviously they did turn out intolerance because the crankshaft is now in the block, but this here relies on me getting this right first time, which is more jeopardy than I would like, to be honest, at this point. And if I do cock this up, it's a hell of a lot of money wasted. These Wiseco pistons aren't cheap. Ted's come to say hello. Come here, come and say hello to everyone, Ted. There we go, crazy Ted. Wait, yeah, easy tiger, that's enough. Right, so we've got our pins here on ice. Very important to note that these are all weight matched to the pistons. So this here is a yellow, and this here is the yellow pin. So that'll be the first one there to go in. Oh, I almost forgot to put the metal under it there. So now if the jig does melt, at least it'll be sat on these washers and can't drop any further. Now we're going to heat this up until it sort of turns blue. Certainly don't want to get it glowing because then it might deform. All right, so let's just get heating then. Well, there you have it. I think you knew that was going to happen anyway, didn't you? Well, thankfully, it only went in a few mil before getting stuck. So I did manage to get it out without damaging the piston, which is great, obviously. Now, potentially why this didn't work is because I froze the pin and some condensation formed on the frozen pin. And that moisture quenched the rod, which made it shrink quicker than it would have done if the pin was at room temperature. So if I was going to do this again, I wouldn't freeze the pin, but I don't think I will ever go at this again. I'm going to leave it to the professionals. So this is where I handed them over to a local company called Bromsgrove Engine Services. Okay, cool. Hey Ted. Right then, so after the calamity of the last scene where you saw me trying to insert those gudgeon pins and getting it wrong, thankfully a little company called Bromsgrove Engine Services have come to the rescue. And they have done the massive job, bringing the camera in here, show everybody these wonderful pistons. Look at this. Thank you very much to Bromsgrove Engine Services who have inserted these gudgeon pins and done a smashing job of it. I'm going to leave a link to their In the previous scene where I fitted this ring clip, I left a note on the screen to say do not follow this step. Well, now I'll explain why. Different manufacturers use different methods of holding the gudgeon pin. Your gudgeon pin will either be held into the piston or it will be held onto the rod. In this case, it's held onto the rod. So what you should do is leave out the ring clips so the piston can float on the pin. If your gudgeon pin is held into the piston and the rod floats on the pin, then you would put in both of the ring clips. So there you go. Now you know. Website and the telephone number and everything below. So now we've got these all assembled. The next job is to put on the piston rings. Now you've got, 3 sets of rings. You've got your top compression ring, and then you have your second compression ring, and then you have your oil control rings. And this is 2 thin rings with a spacer between them, so they will go like that.
Do the rings come with a manual?
Do the rings? Yeah, so the rings come with this guide, and they do come with some other paperwork. And now I'm just looking on here to see which is the first ring and which is the second ring. If you're wondering, by the way, this is the wonderful Mirka behind the camera today.
Hi.
They both have the same identifying number on them, N50. Hopefully you can see that on camera there. N50, that's on both of them. You can see one's got more of a chrome finish and one's got more of a charcoal black finish. And there should also be a very slight chamfer on one side. Yeah, I can see that one's got the chamfer on that side. So we know that this will be the top, because with the chamfer it will scrape oil down the bore. So that one goes that way up on the piston. And this one I might have to get a magnifying glass to see where the chamfer is on this. I don't think I can see a chamfer at all on it. Which, actually, if there's no chamfer on that, that would lead me to think that that's the top one. Because the bottom one will be trying to keep the oil below the piston, and the top one will be trying to keep the compression above the piston. Would you like to come and look at what I'm looking at? There's no chamfer on that. So that's got to be the compression ring. And then if we do the same with this one, hopefully the chamfer will be a bit more obvious on this one. Yeah, you can clearly see that, I say clearly. Come on, focus. But actually it's not a chamfer, it looks like a step. Either way, that's got to be orientated with that step on the lower side to keep oil below the piston. I'm just going to Google it just to make double sure, but that's what I think. So that one goes that way down. This one can go either way. And then the oil scraper rings. Let's see if these have a chamfer as well. I don't see a chamfer, so I'm running it over my finger to see if it sort of feels different either way, and it doesn't. I don't think that has a chamfer on it, which means it can go either way. Okay, let's try the other one. Do you want to have a little look here? Oh, this is better in the light, isn't it? We should have done this before. Do you see a chamfer on that, Bob?
I do not.
No. So the Honda specs are for a regular engine that's not getting raced or rallied, you know, sort of, your mum's going to go to the shops on these specs, right? So because we're going to be a bit hotter, we're just going to widen those specs a little bit. It gives the engine scope to get a little bit hotter than a normal engine would. So top ring, 0.2 to 0.35. I'm going to set these to 0.4. Second ring, oil scraper ring. Honda spec is 0.25 to 0.6. Now I'm going to the top end of that. I'm going to go with 0.5. And your oil control rings, Honda recommend 0.2 to 0.7. And I'm going to go with 0.4, which is the same as the compression ring at the top. So now what we need to do here to measure these, I see Foreman Ted has come along to make sure I'm doing the correct job of this. Are you going to set the ring gaps, Ted? No, I don't know what I'm on about, do you, boy? Okay, so let's start with the oil control rings. Oh, wow, I tell you what, that's slightly loose in there. So I'm just going to move the feeler gauges up to 0.45. So let's add a 0.5 to that. Oh, okay, that's wide. Bigger than 0.45. Let's move up to 0.5. I see, now that doesn't want to go in. Oh no, it does just slot in tight. So I'm going to say that is pretty much bang on. 0.05 adds maybe, it was tight. So yeah, it's about 0.5. Now the Honda setting here was 0.2 to 0.7. So we're on the higher range of the Honda setting. So that I am happy with that. So instead of 0.4, the lower oil control ring is going to be 0.5. We're now going to do the same for the second oil control ring. And as these are new, I do suspect that this is just going to be exactly the same size at 0.5. You know, Wiseco, they have made these pistons and these rings for an 84.5mm setup. So, you know, I mean, these are made for this job by Wiseco, so it doesn't surprise me too much that they're close. Yeah. Oh, it's tight. It's another tight one. I suspect this one's just going to be a fraction under, maybe 0.45 on this one. Yeah, so let's just take that 0.1 off and try 0.4. Yeah, 0.4 goes in easy, 0.5 didn't go in. So we're somewhere between 0.4 and 0.45. So I'm going to say that the lower control ring there is about 0.45, which is intolerance, absolutely fine for me. Okay, so that's our oil control rings ready to fit on the piston. Now we're going for our oil scraper ring. Right then, we were aiming for 0.5, but our Honda tolerance here is 0.6. So really, I mean, anything under 0.7, I think I'd be absolutely fine with. In the research I was doing, I did find that some of the people with the race applications were going with really wide gaps, beyond point. Right, just for the viewers, that's Mirka struggling to contain her laughter at wide gaps. The camera's I don't think the camera's looking at me, Bab.
Sorry.
Right, this is going to be a special episode. I hope you enjoy the footage here of Mirka, who's trying to keep the camera pointed at me while I'm talking, but she is prone to the giggles. Good on her. Especially if we keep talking about wide gaps. Oh yeah, for those that... pointing the camera at me. Right, Mirka is known as the innuendo queen, by the way. So if there's any lols to be had and the camera starts shaking, that's what it is. Right, where was I? Anyway, yeah.
You were saying
I want about 0.5.
up to 0.7 you'll be happy.
The race boys are using sort of 0.9, 0.10. You know, so 0.10, that would be 1 mil. Right, enough talking. Let's see what we got. I'm going straight in with a 0.4. Pretty sure that's going to be too big. Yeah, way too big. 0.4 is rattling around in there. I'm going to go straight to a 0.2, adding a 0.2 to that. Okay, so that's 0.2 and a 0.4. So 0.6. Let's see. Oh, so I've bent all these when I've been doing valve lashes before. Yeah, definitely time to get some new feeler gauges. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, okay. It's not accepting the 0.6. So it looks like we're around somewhere around 0.55 perhaps. Let's just be sure here. So we'll take the 0.2 down to a 0.1. See, that's pretty tight. So that gap is around 0.5.
Yay!
Yay! Which is exactly what I wanted it to be. Ta-ting! Let's give these some little ticks just so it feels good. And the top one I wanted at 0.4, but I suspect it's going to be a little bit tighter. Sorry, a little bit looser. I wanted 0.4. I suspect it's going to land around 0.5. Wow, it's tighter than 0.4. Okay, right, so I'm actually going to have to file one out. Now, in order to file a ring, you have to be very careful to make sure that these two edges butt up together perfectly and that we don't get any funny angles, right? So what I will do is I'll put it over the edge of my piece of wood like this, and I will push these together whilst I run a file between them. It's just a small fine file. Okay, I also did some Googling, and the N50 that's on these rings faces up. So I'd got them the right way anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to press these two faces together with the fine file between them. Easier said than done. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm taking off there, so I'll just do that a little bit and then we will retest. Right, yeah, it's still too tight. All right, we're getting close now. So I'll give it another good filing like that last one, and I think we'll be there. Okay, that was cylinder 4 that we've just set the rings to. So I'm going to put them onto piston 4. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a little clean off just to make sure there's no debris in there. Yeah, hopefully you can see those. Right, it has like little backing plates. So this this spacer ring has to go on first, and then the oil control rings over it. So now what I'm doing is I'm making sure that it's located underneath the spacer ring, okay, and then I just rotate it round like that, and hopefully it will pop in and follow in as we go around. A little bit of finagling. Come on, in you go. There you go, it's just dropped in. Yeah, now that one went on even nicer, even smoother. There you go. So hopefully you can see now that the two rings and the spacer ring are perfectly seated. And if we look at if we watch the profile on the side as I rotate it, you'll see that the two rings are perfectly seated on the spacer ring. This is absolutely crucial, and I urge you to check and check and check again before you drop your piston in. Okay, and like I said, once we've got all three rings on, we will be orientating the joints. Okay, so ring 2. Now ring 2 is your dark ring with the lip. This one has N50, but from what I've found on the Wiseco website, there will be N100, N200. These have different codes. As long as your N, whatever number, is facing upwards, you'll be grand. So, same as before. Pop that in there. There you go. You can't really go wrong with that one. That one is much easier to get in than the oil control ring. Okay, final ring. Again, N50 facing up. There's the compression ring, seated all the way around now. Now the way that we're going to ensure that we've got our things lined up here is we know that this is a thrust side because we've got our oil squirter on the rod here. Can you see there? All right, that's where the oil, the pressurized oil is going to exit this bearing, and it's going to squirt like that onto the side of the bore on the thrust side. So as your compression stroke comes down, I mean, imagine it's going around the crankshaft like that, and as it goes bump, compression, and the cylinder is being pushed down by the forces of combustion, that is where you want your oil squirting, because that's the side of the cylinder that the piston is pushing against. Right, so this is what we're going to use to orientate our rings now. Okay, now just to make it clearer for you guys, to instruct you, I'm going to make some notes on top of the piston. Our oil squirter says that this is the thrust side. Okay, so I'm putting a T there for thrust. This here is the front of our engine, so I'm going to put an arrow there to show you that's the front of the engine. So the top compression ring gap, I'm going to set fully right. Like that, okay. And then compression ring 2 goes the opposite. It's almost about there. Okay, your two oil control rings, you want them clocked slightly different to each other. So I'm going to put the bottom one approximate, just off center, probably, I mean, about around there will do. All right, so hopefully you can see. Come on. This is quite hard trying to film on my own. I'm really missing Mirka already. Second oil ring, the upper oil control ring, there. Okay then, so now what we're going to do, we're going to oil them up. We're going to get a bit of engine oil on them and we're going to put them into a spring compressor. Oh, marvellous. Where is my spring compressor? Ring compressor, that is. You're kidding me. Right, well I can't do anything without my piston ring compressor. This is marvellous, this is, isn't it? As if I've got this far in the job to find out that I've lost my piston ring compressor. Where is that? I have found a socket I was looking for though. It's a 36mm. Oh, what a point to get to in the build to find out that I haven't got my piston ring compressor. Oh. I mean, we can only hope that maybe it is in my secondary box. To be honest, this box is just full of tools that don't get used. And to be fair, I haven't fitted any pistons or rings for donkey's years. So I guess if it was in this toolbox, that would be appropriate. Right, weirdly, I found a part of it. Oh my days, right, I don't believe this. I mean, every step of the way this build has just been delay after delay. Okay, so yeah, next problem is we've got no piston ring compressor. I don't know where that's gone. That's just flipping brilliant, isn't it? Right, so but we're a step closer. So I'll get a spring compressor. I'll get a piston ring compressor now, and then the video will continue. Let's just hope I can get one quick. Oh geez. And we're going to insert the small end bearing. So now I guess we have the choice here of going for King Racing or ACL Performance Series. King Racing says no added thickness, and that has a ceramic nano composite polymer coating. STD in the part number, which I assume means standard, so again standard thickness. So King Racing or ACL Performance. No idea. The marketing looks a little bit better on the King Racing ones. Alright, so let's go with King Racing. You might be wondering why I've even got both sets of ACL and King Racing. Well, that's just what came with a job lot of parts that I bought. So there we are. All 8 of these are identical. Now with the main bearings, they had a different upper and lower, but these all just look identical. So I'm just going to check here. Again, check that face is nice and smooth and clean. The back of the bearing is clean. Now that is a little unusual because the hole is slightly, the hole there is very slightly obscured. Let's see if I can get you a good view of that. Quite difficult to tell there, I think. Now if I just rotate the shell, you see there that the hole is aligned there, but when I fit the shell properly, hopefully you can see that the hole is half obscured. I wonder if the ACL bearing is like that. I don't really want to open another set of bearings. The ACL bearings have got the hole slightly further around. I wonder why this is. Yeah, see the ACL bearing is much more aligned. Now, I've already opened the King bearings, that's brilliant, isn't it? Right, I'm going to use the ACL bearings. Does anybody want a set of King bearings opened but not fitted? God. Oh dear. I can only assume it's because of the amount of variation between the B series. Obviously you've got B16, 18, 20, VTEC, non-VTEC. Just by opening that box there, I've probably killed half of the resale value of that. That's amazing, fantastic. Right, so now let's open up the ACL bearings. It's like Christmas, we're just opening up everything today, aren't we? There we go, the hole lines up exactly with the oil squirter now. I hope that you can see that. I mean, on the little GoPro screen here, I can't really tell. I won't know until I start editing the footage as to whether that is showing you how well the hole lines up with the oil squirter there. So I guess there's something that you've learned by watching this video. If you are working with B20 rods, then it looks like the ACL is the correct one, and if you want the part number, there it is. That's the part number of the ACL bearings that fits. So if you want to pause the video and take yourself a screenshot of that, that's what you need here to fit B20 pistons into a B20Z1. So now we just need to fit our new ARP fasteners, as is the way with this. Everything's going together with ARP fixings, and then we'll be putting the pistons in. Right, and hopefully these won't need much persuading. Let's see. Okay, those ones are fairly easy. Very good. Number one. And number 4, there we go. There's always a chance that we could have disturbed a little bit of metal there. So I'm just going to brake cleaner them off, and then we will insert the new fixings. Okay, now it is pretty obvious which way these go in because they will only sit one way properly. If you see, they've got like a, what are we going to call that? Like a hammer shape on the end anyway. The curved end faces in to the I-beam of the rod. Ooh, let's try and keep that in focus for you. And we'll centralize that so it's parallel, well, so it's perpendicular to the center of the rod. Perpendicular or parallel? You know what I mean anyway, don't you? Things I can't hit against this surface. So let's just get a bit of wood, sit it on there so I can just tap it on there. Yeah, she's good enough that I can get the nut on. Let's just give that surface a wipe now. I've just had it against the wood. Okay, now hopefully in the next workshop I will have a vise, but for now I haven't got a vise, so that's as far as I can get the bolt in by hand. So holding it by hand, that is as far as I can get the stud to pull down. I'd need a vise to really get some torque on it. So the only option I've got is to put it into the block, which is no problem, is it? Let's do that. Let's get our first one in. All right then, so we're going to check now that our piston rings are all aligned the way we left them. All right, so we're lubing up the piston ring compressor, and then we're going to lube up the piston itself, and of course that's spinning the ring. Right, so yet again, we make sure that your rings are aligned exactly where you want them. Okay, so now I'm just going to have a little engine oil inside the bore. Want this to glide in very nice. Now, like I say, this is the first time I have used this type of spring piston ring compressor, so wish me luck. Okay, now it's gone into the piston ring compressor. Nice. Now let's just check that my big end is going to land on there. In fact, to tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the crank so the big end is down to the lower setting. Make sure that's perfectly straight, and then I'm going to just oh dear, I'm talking my way through this like I'm educating you, but I'm learning here for the first time as well. Okay, so I can feel that the skirt of the piston is inside the bore. I can feel that the piston ring compressor is pushed square against the top of the block, and now I'm going to just apply a quick smooth force as even as possible on the top of the piston. So wish me luck. Oh, see? Oh, that's fucking brilliant, that, isn't it? Ah, right, so I've hit the crank. That's what's happened. I've just caught the crank because the rings haven't actually protruded from the bottom of the thing yet. Right, so let's turn the crank halfway away from the webs. I think it just caught on the webs there. Okay, it's going to work this time. Hey, look at that! It has, it's gone in, it's worked. It is a success. Beautiful. I tell you what, it is very nice to see that in there. Right, I'm just going to wipe my hands. And we're going to give you a little look there. Oh yeah, that looks nice, doesn't it? Right, and yeah, let's turn this over. See how that, see how the bottom of the rod is sitting on the crank. Please don't fall out now. I'm keeping my hand on that piston, so there's no chance that can drop out. Okay, it's now perfectly sat on the crank. Give you a little look at that. Okay, so there you go. The rod is now sat nicely on the crank. I'm going to turn this now so I can get the crank, so I can get the cap to the bottom. There we go. I'll turn it so you can see on the GoPro what is going on. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to temporarily put this cap on, and I'm only going to do them up very lightly. I'm only going to do the nuts up hand tight, so that's just on there just to stop it falling off basically whilst I assemble the others. Come on. Right, so I'm just going to pop these nuts on, a couple of threads. These will hold in place whilst we insert all the other pistons now. Right, you know the score. Same as doing the main bearings in the last video. Place ourselves a little bit of Plastiguage right on top of the journal, and then replace the cap. Now you know what we're hoping for. So it is same again. It's bigger than the 0.5. It's smaller than the 0.38. I'm going to go ahead and say that's about 0.45, same as the other two. Right, those studs are pulling in nicely now. Yeah, lovely jubbly. So hopefully that is the cap nice and level now. Yeah, the cap is all closed down onto the rod, and now we're just pulling the studs through. Not applying any torque at this stage. There you go. So I can clearly see that all of the studs have pulled all the way through. And like I say, yeah, they're just sort of hand tight for now. Right, there we are. All 4 pistons in the block looking pretty good. And I hope you can see as well that they're all facing the right way. Now, as before, I'll turn 2 and 3 down to BDC. Oh, I'm just moving them aside so I can get a little bit of assembly lube in there. All right, let's pull these studs through. Again, same as before, not applying any torque just yet. Just getting these new bolts nicely seated. Now these new ARP studs, they arrived, was it yesterday? And unfortunately, Alessandro or Mirka couldn't be here to hold the camera. So it's just you and me here celebrating this this victory of all of the pistons being in the block. Now I'm just going to go and get a torch. I'm going to make absolutely sure that everything is seated absolutely perfectly. There we go. So now you can see that the cap is fully closed, that the bolt is fully seated. Let's just see if that's the same situation here for number 3. Yes, it is. Everything's seated correctly. Now we're just going to rotate her to get number 1 and number 4 at BDC, so we can check those as well. There we go. So as we can see, all right, a bit bright that. Number 1 fully seated, and number 4 fully seated. Yes, very nice. Right, now we just need to torque these up. Yeah, so the torque set on these is the final torque, that is going to be 55 Newton meters. We'll take a stage at 25, so we'll do them to 25 stage 1 and then to 55 stage 2. But these are stretch bolts. Obviously I haven't got a stretch gauge, so in order to stretch them out a little bit, we're just going to re-torque them 3 times. All right, so we're going to go to 25, and then we're going to go to 55, and then we're going to slacken them off, go again to 55, slacken them off, and a final time to 55. Are you going to have a go at guessing who's on my t-shirt again tonight? Another one of my favourite bands. 100 Danger Points, if you know who they are. Okay, I've got plenty of torquing lube on there now. So, 25 Newton meters, let's go. Right, 25, really not a lot at all. So now we're going to 55. Right, and we'll do the other 2 whilst we let those settle. Like I said, we're going to go for another round. So let's just reduce this to 25. Okay, stage 1 done. Let's move up to 55. Okay, right, that's all 4, up to 45, 55, should I say. So, now we are going to undo them and do them up another 2 times, but not until I have rotated this and felt some lovely smooth action. Right then, guys, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's give her a spin. Oh yeah. Oh, that's nice. No grabbing, nothing unusual going on there. That feels good. Yeah, very nice. Right then, let's undo these. Let's see if I can stop the stand from moving. Okay, I'm just backing them off a little bit each at a time just to relieve the pressure. Nice and even over the cap. Okay. Right, and the final time now, we're going to undo them and do them up for good. There she is. All pistons and rods torqued down for the final time. There she is, guys. Oh wow. A fully assembled short block. All balanced, all new, all clean, and ready to rock. Oh man. Alright, pistons and rods are in the block, finally. Things are starting to take shape. This video has been challenging, I'll admit, but the short block is now together, and I appreciate you sticking around through the ups and downs. If you're enjoying the build or you found this helpful or interesting, then please hit the like button and subscribe, because I've got some exciting stuff coming up that I think you'll like. If you've made it this far in the video, then you're an absolute hero. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one.